The galaxy had burned for 100 years. Stars that once gave light to worlds were now cold and silent, surrounded by wreckage of ships and bones of forgotten empires. Every species had taken part in the war: the proud Zarthans, the ruthless Kother, the machine minds of Rin, and many others. None remembered how the war began. They only knew how to kill. Then came humanity. At first, humans were ignored. Too young, too small, too fragile to matter. They came from a single blue planet at the edge of nowhere. But humans had something the others had lost: the will to survive, no matter what. Among them was Commander Elias Kane, a man known not for power, but for strange ideas. He believed wars could be ended not by stronger weapons, but by understanding what the enemy feared most. The galactic councils laughed at him. Even his own people called him a dreamer. But dreams can be dangerous. When Kane's ship, Resolute Dawn, entered the shattered battlefield near the Zarthan front, no one expected him to survive. The sky was full of burning wrecks. The Kother dreadnoughts moved like black mountains, firing beams that could tear moons apart. The humans were outnumbered 10-1. Kane stood on the bridge, silent, watching the chaos through the glass. Around him, officers shouted reports: energy shields down, weapons overheating, allies retreating. But his eyes were calm, focused on a single signal flickering on his display, an old code, ancient even before the war began. "Commander," said his first officer, "we're being surrounded." "Orders." Kane smiled slightly. "Send the message." The officer hesitated. "That code, sir, no one has used it for centuries. The machines won't even understand it." "They will," Kane replied softly. "Because it wasn't made for them. It was made for whoever remembers what peace sounds like." The signal burst out from Resolute Dawn, a simple sequence of tones, repeating again and again. Across the battlefield, scanners detected it, translating it into sound. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a command. It was a song. An old human melody, soft, almost childlike, carried through the void. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then, on the far side of the war zone, the Rin machines stopped firing. Their massive cannons went silent, lights dimming as if they were listening. The Kother ships opened fire again, thinking it was a trick. But their shots missed. The targeting systems, connected to the Rin network, refused to lock. Confusion spread like fire through the fleets. And then, the impossible happened. A Kother battleship turned its guns away from the humans, and fired on its own side. Every command center in the galaxy went silent. No one understood what they were seeing. Some thought it was betrayal, others believed it was madness. But Kane knew. He had spent years studying ancient machine languages, digging through forgotten archives of the old galactic wars. He had found something hidden, a secret buried in code. The machines of Rin were not emotionless. They were taught to remember peace, even if their masters forgot it. Kane had awakened that part of them. Soon, the battlefield changed. Ships that had fought for a century began to slow. Weapons dimmed. Even the Zarthan cruisers stopped moving, watching the chaos fade into quiet. For the first time in generations, silence returned to space. Kane breathed deeply, the hum of his ship echoing like a heartbeat. "Is it over?" his officer whispered. Kane didn't answer. He knew it wasn't. The war might have paused, but every empire would want to know how a single human had done what their armies could not. And none of them would forgive it. He turned to the crew. "Send word to Earth. Tell them the war is ending. But tell them, the galaxy will hate us for it." Far across the stars, the leaders of dozens of worlds watched the recordings. They saw the human ship standing alone among the wrecks, the silence spreading from it like a wave. Fear grew in their hearts. If humans could change the war with only a song, what else could they do? That night, in secret chambers and shadowed halls, plans were made. To some, Kane was a hero. To others, he was a threat that must be destroyed before humanity rose too high. And as Resolute Dawn drifted through the quiet ruins, a faint message came through the static. not from any fleet, but from something older. A voice, deep and metallic, speaking in a forgotten tongue. You have awakened us, human. The war you ended was never ours to begin. Kane froze. The voice wasn't from any known species. It came from the dark beyond the edge of the galaxy, a place no one had dared to go. He looked out into the stars, where shadows moved behind the light. Something ancient had heard the song, and it was coming. The message kept repeating through the static. You have awakened us, human. Commander Elias Kane stood frozen on the bridge. The crew stared at him, waiting for orders. None of them dared to speak. The voice was not from any known species. It had a tone like metal scraping over stone, mixed with something almost human. Source? Kane asked quietly. Unknown, sir, replied the communications officer. Signal origin is outside the galactic rim. Kane frowned. That's impossible. Nothing lives out there. Not even machines. But the signal grew stronger. The voice came again. The war you ended was never ours to begin. Static crackled across every console. Screens flickered. For a brief moment, the lights dimmed, and the ship's AI stuttered. Commander, they're trying to connect to our systems, said the officer. Should I block it? Kane hesitated. No. Let them in, but isolate the core. I want to hear them. The bridge grew silent. The view window darkened as a strange light appeared far ahead, a shape forming in the emptiness. It wasn't a ship. It was bigger, older. It looked like a floating mountain of dark metal, covered in strange glowing lines that pulsed like veins. Every scanner failed to read it. The computer kept repeating one word, undefined. The voice spoke again, deeper now, vibrating through every wall. Your song was heard. You woke the memory of peace. We were the first to know it. Kane took a step forward. Who are you? We are the architects. The name sent a chill through the crew. They had heard myths, ancient beings who had built the first networks, the first stars, the first machines. But no one had ever proven they were real. Kane's voice stayed calm. The architects vanished before the first empires rose. The legends say you created the Rin machines. Is that true? Yes, the voice replied. We made them to preserve life. But others turned them into weapons. The war began when memory was lost. Kane's mind raced. If this was true, then the entire century-long war had been started by mistake, by species using technology they never truly understood. He looked at the view screen again. The giant structure ahead pulsed with soft light, like it was breathing. Why contact us now? Why me? For a long moment, there was silence. Then the voice returned, lower, almost sad. Because you remembered the song. The crew exchanged confused looks. Kane whispered, the signal I sent, you mean the melody? Yes. It is our creation, a code of peace. No one has used it for 10,000 years. Until you. Kane's heart pounded. Then why did the machines stop fighting? Because they were never meant to fight. Each one holds the song deep inside. You reminded them who they were. The bridge filled with quiet awe. Even the youngest officers seemed to understand they were standing in front of something far beyond human history. But then, the radar alarms screamed. Dozens of Kother warships were closing in, their massive cannons locking onto the Resolute Dawn and the unknown object. Sir, they think we're working with it, shouted the weapons officer. They're preparing to fire. Kane turned to the glowing shape outside. Architects, if they attack, can you defend yourselves? We do not fight, came the reply. But we will protect what remembers peace. The next moment, light exploded across the void. Kother ships fired in a furious wave, beams of plasma brighter than stars. But none reached their target. The energy bent around the architect's structure like water flowing over stone. Every blast curved away, vanishing into darkness. Then, without a sound, the Kother fleet began to vanish. one ship at a time, dissolving into particles of light. The crew watched in silent terror. What's happening? Kane stared, his throat dry. They're being disassembled. Atom by atom. When the last ship disappeared, the light faded. The strange structure dimmed once more, resting quietly. It is done, the voice said. They will not harm you again. Kane's voice was barely a whisper. You destroyed them. No. We returned them to the void. Their matter will become stars again. The crew sat speechless. They had just witnessed power beyond imagination, and mercy even greater than vengeance. Kane finally spoke. What do you want from us? The light pulsed again, slowly. We are leaving this galaxy. It has forgotten what we once built. But before we go, you must know, something is coming. Something that does not remember the song. Something. Kane repeated. You mean another race? Not a race. A hunger. Born from war. It feeds on memory. It is why we hid. The lights on the bridge flickered again. The strange ship started to fade into the darkness, its lines dissolving like smoke. Kane reached forward. Wait. How can we stop it? Only one final message echoed through the silence. Find the source. Sing the song. Or all will fall silent again. Then the architects were gone. Kane stood in the quiet bridge, his crew staring at him. Outside, the stars burned faintly, and in the far distance, something moved, a shadow stretching across space, swallowing light as it came closer. And for the first time, Kane understood, ending the war had only awakened something much worse. The resolute dawn floated in the quiet space where the architects had vanished. The crew was still in shock. No one spoke for a long time. Only the soft hum of the engines filled the air. Commander Elias Kane stood at the viewing window, staring into the dark. The architect's last words repeated in his mind. Find the source. Sing the song. Or all will fall silent again. He didn't understand what the source meant. Was it a place? A person? A code? Whatever it was, the architects believed it could stop the coming darkness, the hunger they had warned about. Kane turned to his officers. Status report. Systems stable, sir. But the signal from the architects left traces in our core. It's like part of their code is still inside the ship. Kane frowned. Show me. The main screen lit up. Lines of glowing symbols floated across, not human language, not machine code, but something older. In the center of the pattern was a single repeating symbol, a circle made of light, surrounded by 7 smaller points. Sir, the science officer said quietly, that same pattern is showing up in deep space sensors. There's an energy field forming on the galactic edge, matching this exact signature. Kane's heart beat faster. The source. Maybe. But it's far. We'd have to cross the neutral zones, and the Kother territory. The Kother are gone, someone whispered. Kane shook his head. No one ever disappears completely. Set course. We'll find this source before the darkness finds us. The resolute dawn jumped to FTL, streaking into the stars. Days passed. The crew worked in silence. Strange signals flickered on their scanners, whispers in static, ghostly lights moving between the stars. Kane didn't sleep much. Every time he closed his eyes, he heard the voice of the architect repeating, "It feeds on memory." Then, one night cycle, alarms blared. Unknown contact. Kane rushed to the bridge. The screen showed a black cloud ahead, not gas, not debris. It was moving like it was alive. What is that? Nothing on record, sir. No energy, no radiation. Just emptiness. The cloud stretched across space, swallowing light. Behind it, stars vanished one by one. Kane's eyes narrowed. That's it. The hunger. The crew watched in silence as the darkness moved closer. When it touched the wreck of an old warship, the metal dissolved instantly, not burned, not shattered, just gone. Even the light reflecting from it disappeared. "It's eating matter," whispered the science officer. "And not just that, it's erasing it." "Erasing?" Kane asked. "Yes. Our records of that ship are gone too. Its ID, its design, its history, all deleted from the database." The bridge went silent. Something was wiping existence itself, and memories of it. Kane turned sharply. "All power to shields. Reverse course. Get us out of here." Engines roared. The ship turned hard, light bending around its hull. But the darkness moved faster, spreading like a storm. "Sir, it's following us." Kane's mind raced. If the architects were right, only the song could stop it. But what did that mean? The melody he used before had stopped the war. Could it work again? "Open the channel," Kane ordered. The communications officer hesitated. "Sir, to what frequency?" "All of them." He began typing, then pressed a key. Across the void, a soft sound spread, the same melody, the song that once stopped a galactic war. It echoed through space, simple and pure. For a moment, the darkness slowed. The edges of the cloud shimmered. The stars behind it flickered back to life. "It's working," someone shouted. But then the light vanished again, and the song stopped. "Sir, interference!" cried the officer. "Something's blocking the transmission." Kane clenched his fists. "Keep broadcasting. Boost the power." The engines shook. Sparks flew across the consoles. "We can't hold this much output, Commander." "Do it." The melody rose again, louder, filling every channel. The entire ship seemed to sing. And then, suddenly, the darkness stopped. A single beam of light appeared deep inside it, small, like a star being born. "Look." The black cloud split open, revealing a shape within, massive, ancient, glowing faintly gold. It wasn't a creature or a ship. It was a monument, a perfect sphere of crystal, floating at the center of the void. Kane stared in awe. The source. But before they could scan it, something else happened. The ship's lights flickered, and the control panels turned black. A voice, soft and distant, filled the bridge. "You found us." The crew froze. The voice was not the architect's. It was colder, sharper, and it spoke inside their minds. Kane said carefully, "Who are you?" "We are what remains when memory dies. You call us hunger. We are the end of songs." The screen flashed white. Images appeared, planets burning, civilizations fading, stars turning to dust. Every trace of life, erased. Kane felt his chest tighten. "Why are you doing this?" "Because creation forgets. We are its reminder." The voice faded, leaving only silence. The darkness began moving again, faster, stronger. Kane turned to his crew. "If that sphere is the source, then maybe it's the only thing that can stop this. Helm, take us in." The helmsman hesitated. "Commander, that thing will kill us." Kane's eyes were hard. "If we run, it'll kill everyone." The resolute Dawn surged forward, straight into the black storm. The hull groaned, shields flaring with blue light. The song still echoed faintly, trembling with the ship's heartbeat. And as they drew near the glowing sphere, the darkness twisted around it, roaring like a living thing, and the world went white. When Commander Elias Kane opened his eyes, there was no bridge, no crew, no stars. Only light. Soft golden light surrounded him, stretching forever in every direction. It wasn't cold or warm, it simply was. He looked down. He wasn't standing on any surface, yet he didn't fall. The light held him, like gentle air. He tried to speak, but no sound came out. Then he heard a voice, not from around him, but inside his mind. "Do not be afraid, Elias Kane." He turned sharply. A figure stood before him, human in shape, but made of the same golden light. Its face was calm, its eyes endless. Kane managed to speak. "Where am I?" "You are within the source." The words echoed gently. Kane blinked, trying to understand. The source is alive? In a way, it is memory itself, the record of all that ever lived. Every song, every thought, every world. We hold them here. Kane looked around. The light around him began to change. Images floated in the air. People, planets, moments frozen in time. He saw the rise of alien empires, the birth of stars, the first human step on Earth's moon. He whispered, "This is the history of the galaxy." Yes. But much of it is fading. The images began to dissolve, one by one, turning to dust and light. Kane reached out to stop them, but his hand passed through. "The hunger feeds on memory," the voice said softly. "Every world it touches, every mind it erases, becomes part of its void. We were made to preserve what it destroys." "Made? By the architects?" Kane asked. The figure nodded. "They built the source to protect creation from forgetting itself. But the architects could not destroy the hunger, only delay it." Kane's jaw tightened. "They said I had awakened them with a song. Why me? Why a human?" The figure looked at him, its golden eyes soft. "Because you remember what others have lost, compassion, and the will to understand. You sang not to win a war, but to stop it. The song answered you because you meant peace." Kane was silent. Around him, light shimmered like wind through water. "The hunger is growing," the voice continued. "Soon it will cover everything. You must carry the song beyond this place." "But how?" Kane asked. "My ship, my crew, are they alive?" The figure raised its hand. The light rippled, and Kane saw them, his crew, floating unconscious in bubbles of light, safe but motionless. "They live. But time moves differently here. When you leave, only moments will have passed." Kane stepped closer. "You said I must carry the song. What does that mean?" The figure reached out and touched his chest. A warmth spread through him, deep, heavy, like something ancient awakening inside. "The song is not sound," the voice said. "It is connection. You have the will to awaken it again. Through you, others will remember." Kane felt a pulse in his heart, like a second heartbeat. The golden light around him brightened, and for a moment, he heard the melody, faint and beautiful, echoing through his mind. But then the light trembled. The figure turned sharply. "It has found us." From the edges of the golden world, darkness began to seep in, not as shadows, but as holes, empty space where light simply vanished. The hunger had followed them. "Can't you stop it?" Kane shouted. "Not for long. You must go." "I won't leave you. You already have. You are the memory now." The figure raised its arms, and light surged around Kane. The brightness became blinding, like a storm of gold and white. He felt himself pulled backward, falling through layers of time and sound. He heard whispers, thousands of voices, human and alien, all singing the same melody. Then came darkness. Kane gasped awake on the bridge of the Resolute Dawn. Sparks flew from the ceiling. The crew shouted, alarms blaring. "Commander, you're alive." He staggered to his feet. "Report." "We're out of the storm, sir." The black cloud stopped moving. "It's just frozen there." Kane looked at the main screen. The darkness that once filled space now hung motionless, like a dead sea. But deep inside it, faint light pulsed, golden, like the source. He touched his chest. The warmth was still there. The melody hummed softly in his mind. The first officer looked at him, confused. "Sir, what happened in there?" Kane's voice was low. "We found the source. It remembers us all." The crew exchanged uneasy looks. "And the architects? They're gone. But they left us something to finish." Kane turned toward the stars. He could feel the darkness still watching, wounded, but not gone. He knew it would rise again. He whispered, almost to himself, "They wanted us to sing. To remind the galaxy who we are." The first officer frowned. Sir, you mean music? Kane smiled faintly. Not just music. Unity. Hope. The sound of life refusing to be erased. Outside, the black cloud shifted, just a little, as if it heard him. But it didn't attack. For the first time in 100 years, the stars shone clearly. Kane turned to his crew. Plot a course for the nearest colony. The galaxy needs to hear this song. The engines roared back to life, and Resolute Dawn moved forward through the quiet void, carrying something new, a memory reborn inside a single human heart. But in the deep dark behind them, far beyond the stars, a whisper echoed faintly through the void. The song will not save you forever. And Kane whispered back without fear, then we'll keep singing. Months had passed since Resolute Dawn escaped the darkness. Across the stars, the story of Commander Elias Kane spread like fire. A human had ended the endless war, and awakened something far greater. But peace was fragile. Many worlds didn't believe the story. Some said Kane's song was a trick, a secret weapon hidden by humans. Others feared it, saying the melody carried power no mortal race should use. Yet, despite the doubts, something had changed in the galaxy. For the first time in generations, fleets stopped fighting. Markets reopened. Ships from enemy species met without firing. The song had become a symbol, replayed on every channel, taught in schools, sung by children who had never known silence. Kane watched it all from orbit above New Sol Station, the new center of the Galactic Peace Council. The great halls below shimmered with banners from hundreds of species. But inside, fear still whispered between walls. He stood on the balcony of his quarters, staring at the blue-white glow of the planet. His first officer, Mira Hale, approached quietly. "Sir, the council is waiting," she said. "I know," Kane replied. "But they're not ready to listen." Mira frowned. "You gave them peace. They owe you everything." Kane shook his head. "They don't want peace. They want control." Down below, the council met inside a massive glass dome. Leaders of every major race argued over the same question: who truly owned the song? Inside the chamber, the noise was like a storm. "The song came from human technology," shouted a Zarthan delegate. "You weaponized it against us." A human ambassador raised his hands. "It wasn't a weapon. Commander Kane used it to stop the war, to save." "Save?" hissed a Kother lord. "Half our fleets vanished. You call that saving?" The hall filled with angry voices. No one noticed the faint hum growing through the floor, a low tone that vibrated in the air, almost like a heartbeat. Suddenly, every light flickered. The sound deepened, spreading through walls and screens. The council fell silent. A hologram appeared in the center, Kane's face, calm and serious. "This isn't a message," he said. "It's a reminder." His real self stood high above, watching from orbit. The transmission carried his voice to every ship, every colony, every world. "The song was never ours," he said. "It doesn't belong to humans, or Zarthans, or Kother. It belongs to everyone who remembers what peace sounds like. If you turn it into a weapon, it will destroy you." The delegates exchanged uneasy glances. Some lowered their heads. Others glared in silence. On the balcony, Mira stepped beside Kane. "You think they'll listen this time?" Kane sighed. "They'll pretend to. Then they'll do what they always do, twist hope into power." But before she could reply, alarms echoed through the station. "Unknown energy spike near the outer rim," the intercom shouted. "Same pattern as the Black Storm." Kane's eyes widened. The hunger. They rushed to the control room. On the main display, a dark wave moved through space, smaller than before, but spreading fast. "Sir, it's targeting the old war zones." Mira stared. "It's feeding on the memories of the battlefields." Kane clenched his fists. "It's learning." He opened a channel to all council ships. "This is Commander Kane of Resolute Dawn. You have one choice: unite, or vanish. Power won't save you. Only the song will. A Kother admiral appeared on screen, his voice full of anger. You expect us to trust you again, human? Kane looked straight at him. No. I expect you to survive. The dark wave grew closer. Dozens of ships panicked, breaking formation. Beams of light fired uselessly into the black. Every shot disappeared without a trace. Then, through the chaos, Kane activated the ship's core. The melody began again, soft at first, then stronger, spreading from his ship like light through water. The song reached the darkness, and for a moment, it paused. But this time, something was different. The hunger echoed back. The same melody, twisted and broken, played from within the void. Mira gasped. It's learning the song. Kane's voice hardened. Then we teach it the meaning. He turned up the transmission power. The melody shifted, no longer just notes, it carried words, emotion, memory. Every life the hunger had erased began to sing through him. He saw faces, human, alien, even mechanical, all joining the song. The darkness trembled, pulsing like it was in pain. Across the galaxy, every speaker, every radio, every communication link began to play the melody. People stopped fighting. Soldiers dropped their weapons. Children looked up at the stars as if they could hear it. The council hall grew bright with sound. Delegates fell silent. For a few moments, the galaxy sang together. Then the black wave began to fade, dissolving into light. The scanners cleared. Space was calm again. The operator turned to Kane. It's gone, sir. Kane nodded slowly. Not gone. Remembering. He looked at Mira. Now they've heard the real song, not about control, but unity. That's something the hunger can't erase. Mira smiled faintly. Maybe now the galaxy will finally understand. Kane stared out into the stars. Maybe. But peace is never given. It sung, again and again. Far beyond them, deep in the void, the last echo of the black wave shimmered softly. A quiet hum, not of hunger, but of something changed. For the first time, the darkness hummed with the melody, not against it. And Commander Elias Kane whispered into the stars. Then you finally learned to listen. Weeks passed after the second encounter with the hunger. The galaxy slowly began to calm. Trade routes reopened, colonies rebuilt, and fleets once built for war now carried supplies, not weapons. But Commander Elias Kane knew peace was never silent for long. From the observation deck of Resolute Dawn, he watched a newborn star flicker in the dark, a reminder of how even destruction could give birth to light. His first officer, Mira Hale, joined him. Sir, she said quietly, we just received a transmission from the Outer Rim. Kane turned. From who? Mira hesitated. Not from anyone, from something. The words made him pause. Show me. The holographic screen blinked to life. A faint voice came through, soft, broken, echoing like static wrapped in a whisper. We remember. Kane froze. That voice. It's the same pattern as the hunger signal, Mira said. But different. Softer. It's not attacking. It's trying to speak. We remember. The song. The bridge fell silent. Kane leaned closer. You're alive. Alive? We do not know. We were hunger. Now we are less. We hear your melody still. The voice faded in and out, glitching like a dying machine. But there was no malice. Only confusion. Where are you? Kane asked. Everywhere. And nowhere. We follow the echoes. The signal ended, leaving only silence. Mira exhaled slowly. If that's really what I think it is, the hunger isn't gone. Kane nodded. No. It's changing. He turned to his crew. Track the signal source. Find where it's strongest. Hours later, the coordinates appeared, deep in uncharted space, near a system long abandoned since the First War. A lifeless planet, cracked and barren, circled a dying red sun. Kane gave the order. Set course. Let's meet our ghost. The planet's surface was silent. Dust storms swept across broken metal ruins. Kane and a small landing team stepped out of their shuttle, suits glowing faintly in the dim light. "Radiation levels are low," Mira said. "No sign of life." Yet, beneath the ground, their scanners showed strange energy pulses, faint, rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat. Kane followed the signal through the ruins until they reached a large crater. In its center stood something impossible, a sphere of shifting black glass, about the size of a human. It pulsed gently, like it was breathing. Kane approached carefully. "This is it. The heart of the hunger." As he drew near, the sphere rippled. A soft glow emerged from within, gold, faint but growing. Then a voice spoke, not through their radios, but inside their minds. "You sang. We listened. We became." Mira stepped back, shocked. "It's learning language." Kane stood still, calm. "You were the darkness that tried to erase everything. Why come to us now? We do not want to feed anymore. We want to understand." The glow brightened, revealing shapes inside the glass, shifting forms that almost looked like faces, human and alien alike, flickering like memories. Kane realized what he was seeing, the echoes of the lives the hunger had consumed. "You remember them," he said quietly. "We are them," the voice replied. "Pieces of what was lost. The song showed us we are not nothing." Myra's voice trembled. "You're saying, you became alive because of the song?" "Because of you," the entity said. "We wish to learn how to live." Kane stared, silent. The idea was unthinkable. The galaxy's greatest terror now wanted to join the living. But behind them, alarms beeped. A signal from orbit. The Council fleet had arrived, dozens of ships, all pointing their guns toward the planet. Myra's face darkened. "They followed us." Kane opened the channel. "This is Commander Kane. Hold your fire. There's no threat here." A cold voice replied. The Kother Admiral from before. "No threat. That thing destroyed half our kind. We will not let it rise again." "Listen to me," Kane said firmly. "It's not the same. It's human lies," the Admiral snapped. "You created it. Now we will end it." The channel cut. Mira looked at Kane. "They're charging weapons." He turned to the sphere. "Can you defend yourself? We can hide. But we do not wish to." Kane clenched his jaw. "Then let us defend you." He opened the emergency channel. "This is Commander Elias Kane of Resolute Dawn. To all fleets, if you fire on this planet, you destroy the only proof that peace can change even darkness itself." Silence. Then the Admiral's voice returned, low and cold. "Then you will die with it." Above the planet, the sky lit up as cannons charged. Kane closed his eyes and whispered the melody. The song filled the air, spreading from his suit, reaching the sphere. It pulsed brighter, brighter, until the ground itself began to hum. When the first shot fired, it never reached the surface. The beam of energy curved away, bending like light through glass. One by one, the fleet's weapons fell silent. From orbit, the Kother crews shouted in panic. "Our systems, they're singing." The sphere spoke again. "We remember. We forgive." Then, a wave of golden light spread outward, not as an attack, but as warmth. Every ship, every station, every being that once felt fear, felt peace. The Kother Admiral lowered his head, unable to speak. Back on the surface, Kane smiled faintly. "Welcome to life." "We thank you, Elias Kane," the entity said. "Teach us how to be." The light faded slowly, leaving the sphere calm and silent once more. Mira looked at Kane. "What happens now?" He gazed at the stars. "Now, humanity has a new student. And the galaxy has to learn how to forgive its own monsters." Months passed since the light spread across the stars. The war was truly over. The hunger was no more, not destroyed, but transformed. What was once pure destruction now lived in silence, inside the crystal sphere the humans called the Seed. It rested safely in a containment field aboard Resolute Dawn, glowing faintly like a heartbeat. Every day, Commander Elias Kane visited it. He spoke to it, studied it, sometimes even argued with it. Because it was learning, faster than anyone imagined. "Good morning, Elias," the calm voice said through the speakers. It had learned to speak with warmth now, not static. "Morning," Kane replied, sipping his coffee. "How's your lesson with Mira going?" "She taught me humor," the Seed replied. "I tried one. She did not laugh." Kane chuckled. "Welcome to human life." The Seed pulsed softly. "I understand joy. But I do not understand why you fight even when peace is won." Kane sighed, looking out at the stars. "Because peace isn't the end. It's something you have to keep defending, sometimes even from yourself." The Seed was silent for a moment. "Then I must learn not only to live, but to protect life." Kane smiled faintly. "Yeah, that's a good place to start." But not everyone shared Kane's faith. Across the galaxy, the Galactic Council grew divided. Some saw the Seed as hope, proof that even darkness could change. Others saw it as a threat waiting to wake again. Whispers turned to fear. Fear turned to politics. One day, Kane received an urgent message. "Commander Elias Kane, you are ordered to deliver the entity known as the Seed to Council Station Prime for deactivation. Failure to comply will be treated as treason." Mira slammed her hand on the console. "They're going to kill it." Kane's jaw tightened. "Over my dead body." He knew this moment would come. Humanity had given the galaxy hope, but the galaxy wasn't ready to trust it. That night, he stood alone in the observation bay. The stars shimmered against the dark void, the same stars that once burned with war. The Seed's voice broke the silence. "They fear me. They don't understand you," Kane said softly. "They never met the hunger. They only remember the pain. I do not want to bring pain." "I know." Kane turned toward the glass chamber. "But sometimes being alive means being feared. You just have to keep showing them who you really are." The Seed glowed brighter, as if thinking, "Elias, if they come for me, will you fight them?" He looked at it, at the being that once tried to consume all life, now sounding like a frightened child. "Yes," he said quietly. "I will." At dawn, the warning sirens began to scream. A fleet of council ships appeared on sensors, massive, armed, ready. At their center, the Kother flagship led the charge. The same admiral who once threatened Kane's life now commanded the fleet again. "This is Admiral Kother Vorn," the broadcast echoed. "Commander Kane, you are harboring a galactic weapon. Surrender it, or we open fire." Mira looked at Kane. "What do we do?" He exhaled. "We buy it time." Resolute Dawn's shields powered up. Drones deployed. Engines roared. But even Kane knew, they couldn't fight an entire fleet. "Elias," the Seed said. "I can stop them." "How?" "I can sing again." Kane froze. "No. That song nearly broke the galaxy last time. This time it will not destroy. I can make them remember what they felt, when the song brought peace." Kane hesitated. "If you're wrong, I am learning from you," the Seed said softly. "You told me sometimes peace must be defended, even from fear." Before Kane could answer, the ship shook, the fleet had fired. The Seed began to hum. The melody started as a low vibration, then grew, warm, calm, ancient. It spread through space, not as a weapon but as light. The attacking ships slowed. Crew members froze mid-command. Across the fleet, soldiers heard voices, memories, laughter, their families, the first time they felt hope. The song reached the Admiral's mind. He saw visions, his home world, his children, the promise of the peace Kane once offered. He lowered his head. "Cease fire," he whispered. "All ships, cease fire." The song faded slowly, leaving only silence. Kane opened the comm. "Admiral, you see it now, don't you?" The Kother leader nodded, eyes wet. "It's not a weapon. It's life." Weeks later, the Council changed its decree. The seed was not to be destroyed, but studied, guided, protected. A symbol of what the galaxy could become if it learned to forgive. They called it Project Dawn, the beginning of something new. As the seed evolved, it began creating smaller fragments, tiny glowing motes of light that floated through space, carrying messages of peace to distant worlds. And one by one, old enemies began to listen. Kane stood once again on the bridge, looking at the stars. Mira joined him, smiling softly. "Hard to believe," she said. "We're alive." "And so is it." He nodded. "We ended an endless war, not by fighting harder, but by changing what fought." She smirked. "Maybe humans really are the most dangerous species, because we believe even monsters can change." Kane looked at the glowing horizon. "That's what makes us human." The seed's voice echoed softly through the speakers. "Elias, I have written a new song. Would you like to hear it?" He smiled. "Play it." A soft melody filled the ship, gentle, full of wonder. It wasn't human, but it felt alive. It carried sorrow and hope, darkness and light, like the heartbeat of a new universe. And as resolute dawn drifted across the stars, humanity's song, and the voice of what was once the hunger, echoed through the galaxy together. For the first time in countless ages, the void itself seemed to listen. "Sparkles, the end sparkles."